Well, maybe we can just start by you helping me understand the situation, right? So you want to go vegan, is that correct?
I have no idea. When I say that, it could be that I'm lying to myself. It could be that I don't know what I'm talking about. Or it could be genuine. I have no way of knowing. I have no way of telling, and I don't know what the language surrounding that even means anymore.
Okay, all right. But so that is something you tell yourself. You tell yourself you
I
want to
tell
go
myself,
vegan,
yeah, I say that out loud. I tell it to my, I think it. So yeah,
right? And you said you'd been trying to go vegan for years.
yeah.
So what does that look like? What does trying to go vegan look like for you?
So yeah, when I go to the supermarket or when I go to a restaurant, and I have the option of buying an animal product, I think to myself, okay, you have a choice right now to do the right thing, to not be a Nazi, to not be a rapist, to not fund the animal holocaust, to be moral, to be logically consistent, to not be a hypocrite. Please do the right
Mm.
thing. Please do not buy the animal products. And then when my hand is reaching for the product, I'm thinking to myself, why? Why are you why are you doing this? Like you have control over your body. You can move your arm slightly to the left and grab the vegan product. Wow, what the fuck is do you actually have these values or not? Like what's wrong with you? And then I just buy the animal product and I leave. And it's like, what happened? Was I in control of my body? Am I lying to myself? Do I have these values? What is going on? I have no idea what's going on. It's crazy.
So this is like as you're reaching for the meat or something, you're thinking to yourself, stop doing it, right?
Yes.
Hmm. Do you write a shopping list when you go to the grocery store?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. And what do you put on that shopping list?
I usually put like three breakfast items, so like oatmeal, cereal, fucking pancakes, and then I'll do three lunch items, three dinner items.
Okay, well, what are the lunch and the dinner items?
The lunch will be like sandwich, burrito, fucking, I don't know, chili, and then the dinner will be like, whatever. Same thing, tacos, soup.
So, do you know how to make that vegan?
I do, yeah.
So because I'm just trying to understand, like, if you have like vegan recipes and you're buying ingredients for them, why are you, what are you purchasing the meat for if there's no recipe that you're going to use with the meat?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, what do you end up doing with the meat? Presumably you eat it, right?
Yeah, I just make the same recipe that I was already gonna do.
But you add meat to it,
Yeah.
right? Do you have an alternative in place for the meat?
Yeah, sometimes if I win the battle inside my own head
Mhm.
and I buy the vegan product, I just make the vegan food.
Right, yeah, because if you don't have meat at home, obviously you're not going to be cooking and eating meat, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but you find it very challenging to win that battle.
Yeah.
So what if you get so you find it difficult not to take meat off the shelves, but do you find it difficult to take the vegan product? So what vegan product are you using in place of meat, like beans or mince or something, or what are you using?
I use like soy protein
Mhm.
or wheat protein, sometimes tempeh,
Cool.
stuff like that.
And so do you find it difficult to take that off the shelf?
No.
Okay. And if you've already taken that off the shelf, are you just as likely to take the meat product off the shelf?
No. I usually I feel like a sense of relief. Like, okay, now I
Hmm.
bought this item. It's already in my cart. I don't
Right.
have to buy the meat item.
Well, do you think that's something that you could try doing in the future? If you just go and get the vegan alternative before the meat option, surely you're going to be much less likely to be purchasing meat,
Yes.
right? Is there something stopping you doing that?
Yeah, my own body that
Have you thought of
seems
this
to like,
before?
yeah, I mean, this happens with basically everything. Like, if I want to do anything that I consider moral. So, for example, if I want to like donate to charity, um, same thing happens. I'll just like my hand will be hovering over the option and then I just won't do it. And I know all the moral arguments, but then I don't do it. Or like if it's like something that would benefit me and all the people around me. So like if it's like, you should study more or you should go to the gym or you should like fucking, I don't know, host some event and invite a bunch of friends over. Anything that would increase the well-being of me or anyone around me, I struggle to do. Like sometimes my body will listen to me and all the arguments in my head and actually do those things, but then sometimes it won't do it. And for some reason I can't like it's like my body doesn't listen to me. It just doesn't do what I want it to do or what I have all the moral arguments to do or anything.
So do you find it like physically difficult to walk in the direction of the vegan items in the grocery store?
No.
Okay, so what I would suggest, and I would like you to tell me if you think this is going to be easy or medium or hard to do, is as soon as you step into the grocery store, just start walking towards, if it's tempeh, let's just say you start walking towards the tempeh section and you get that tempeh and it's the first thing in your cart. You think that would be easy to do or hard to do?
I mean, it would be easy. I mean, nowadays I haven't been to the grocery store in a while because I usually just like buy it online and then have it delivered. So,
Oh, so you like, right, okay. And so when you buy something online, what does that look like? What country do you live in? So,
America.
right. So I'm only familiar with how that works in Australia. So you might have to just briefly explain how that works to me. Could you do that?
Yeah, so basically I go to the website of the grocery store and then I just click on items and select like how many I want and then add them to my shopping cart, my virtual online shopping cart. And then I pay for the items using my credit card and then it's delivered to my apartment.
Right. Do you have to log in or anything?
Nope, I'm already logged in, so I don't have to do that.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, there's something we could work with here. It's fine if not, but are you able to share your screen?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Would you mind doing that and opening up a browser window?
Um, I mean, here, let me check if there's any
You can,
information. So do you want me to just like go to the website?
yeah, are you sharing your screen?
I'm scared to share my screen because my name and
Right.
like
Okay, yeah. So
stuff.
yeah, it's fine if you don't want to share your screen. So you don't want to share your screen, right?
I'll screenshot like things if you want.
Okay,
but
yeah. If I want something screenshotted, I'll ask you to do that. Okay.
okay.
So yeah, can you open up an internet browser, please?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And do you have the website bookmarked or anything? Okay. Can you go onto that bookmark? And would you just be able to navigate to um, what is the vegan product that you would most commonly buy in place of meat?
Vegan product that I would commonly buy in place of meat. Probably like um, I don't know, like a mock meat.
Do you have a
Like there's a
specific one that
brand.
you can order online?
Yeah, there's a brand called Gardein.
All right. Would you be able to go to that page, the
Yeah,
page where you would add it to your cart?
yeah. Okay, I'm there.
Cool.
Now
Are you
what?
able to send a screenshot of what that page looks like, just so I can see it?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, it's in chat.
Okay, cool. I see. Okay, great. Oh, so this is Gardein.com that you're on?
Yeah.
Um, so when you buy your groceries, is this where you purchase it from?
Yeah. Either here or on my grocery store website.
Okay, right. But normally when you do your shopping, you go to the grocery store website, right?
Um, for the most part, yeah.
Okay. So would you be able to find this Gardein product on your grocery store website?
Yeah, I would be.
Okay. Do you think you could pull that up, please?
Yep.
And then just send a screenshot of that once you have it up. Okay, so you normally buy from like Whole Foods online?
Yeah.
Right. So this is normally the website that you would go to order your regular groceries, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And you say you've got a bookmark on your browser that takes you
Yep.
to this website?
Yes.
Okay, do you think you could just delete that bookmark and then bookmark the current page you're on
Yeah, I could do that.
and just name this new bookmark exactly what the old bookmark was called and put the button to go to this website, put the bookmark button exactly where the previous bookmark was. Would you be able to do that right now?
Yep.
All right, let me know when you've done that.
All right. It's done.
Okay, so next time you want to order your groceries from Whole Foods online, what do you think is going to happen?
Um, um, two things can happen. Number one, I go to the bookmark, and then the first thing I see is this product.
Hmm.
Or number two, I go, I know that the bookmark is there. So in order to dodge it, I open an incognito tab and type in the website and then go there.
So if you click on the bookmark, do you think do you think that'll make you more likely to purchase the Guardian?
Um, Maybe, yeah.
All right. So I'm glad we've done that because I want to put something in place to make sure that even if, you did get nothing out of this conversation, I think there's probably something that's going to decrease your animal product consumption. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. But I'm happy to talk more about the real issue, right? So I wonder, what is it about the meat that appeals to you over the Gardein ground beef?
Um, I think availability,
What do you mean by availability?
like some of my restaurants that I go to, um,
So I'm
they
just
don't
talking
have,
about the grocery store at the moment. We can talk about restaurants later.
oh, the grocery store. Honestly, the grocery store, nothing. There's not really like a, that's not really like a big deal for me.
What do you mean it's not a big deal for you?
Like
Like a,
the meat,
yeah, go ahead.
like the meat options at the grocery store versus the vegan meat options. It's, I don't know. There's like a couple things I guess that I wish they had the vegan version of that they don't. That would make it like more convenient.
Hmm. But
So for example, sushi. I know that there's vegan sushi, but at the grocery store that I go to,
Yo, all my minions, let's roll out to friendly vegan.
the vegan sushi is not as good as the non-vegan one.
right. So is it so the reason I'm asking this is because you've got vegan meat options at the grocery store that you're able to buy, but sometimes you still buy the meat option instead. And I'm wondering, what is it about the meat option that appeals to you?
Yeah, it's better. Like it tastes better.
Yeah, it tastes better. Okay, right. So it's just that.
Um, I mean, if there was a vegan option that tasted just as good, I would buy that one instead.
Okay, sure. So if there's a vegan option that tasted just as good, you would buy that one instead,
Yep.
right? And I haven't tried it, so I can't vouch for it. But have you tried like Impossible Meat or anything like that?
Yeah, I have.
And you think it's not as good as real ground meat?
No, I think it is actually. There's a couple products where I pick the non-vegan option because the vegan option is not as good. Um, so that would be like, there's like a sushi that they have that doesn't, like they don't have a vegan alternative for that particular option. Um, and then there's like a yogurt thing
Right.
that they
So are you
have.
saying that you never buy ground meat ever?
No, I don't. I don't. The vegan alternative for ground meat is good, so I don't have a need like
Oh,
to
great.
buy the.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that's really good to hear. So the main thing you struggle with then is like sushi.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hmm. Right. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
I don't
Uh,
buy like dairy either, uh, unless it's like in something else. So like if I'm buying milk, I always buy the oat milk or the soy milk. Um, Same thing for eggs. I don't buy eggs. I buy the just egg.
so you
Um,
seem you seem to be mostly vegan there. So somewhere in the realm of flexitarian. How much of your diet would
I
you
mean,
currently
I would
say?
say like mostly plant-based
Mhm.
because I mean, just like a language thing, but also, yeah, if I find vegan alternatives that are just as good, which I have for those particular products, I end up just completely ignoring the animal product version of that because in my head I'm like, okay, now I get to not feel guilty and have the same enjoyment. So it's just
And
like a better deal.
so what like percentage of your diet would you say is currently vegan?
Um, Probably like 60%.
Okay, 60%. Wow, okay. So, and then what is the 40% comprised of?
40% is anytime I buy sushi, which is not that much, probably like twice a week. Um, Same thing for like yogurt or like ice cream. Um, yeah.
Surely vegan ice cream is so easy to get, right?
Yeah, vegan ice cream is good. The only problem with vegan ice cream is that there's a lot of flavors that I like that there's like non-vegan options for, but there's no vegan options for.
Right, so
So,
specific flavors. That's an interesting one.
yeah.
Well, what are these specific flavors?
Um, there's like cookies and cream, um, which there is a vegan cookies and cream option, but it's just not as good as the non-vegan one.
Right. Do you think if you gave it a fair go, you might end up liking it more than you currently do?
I mean, I did a few times, like I bought both versions and then I just did like a taste test where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give it a fair shot. So, you know, blind like cover, I'm not gonna look at it. And told my mom, like, okay, so you're gonna give me one and I'm just gonna see if I can really tell.
Hmm. How old are you?
And I was like, I'm 25.
Okay, right. But, so you are living with your family?
Yeah.
Have you ever asked them to help you go vegan? What's their attitude towards it?
They're open to it.
Right. And so
They're
do,
open to it, but like the problem though is that like they're willing to buy me vegan products,
mhm,
um, but they can't like force me to not buy non-vegan products. So basically, like if I end up buying non-vegan stuff, they can't like, fucking beat me up or something. So with that, that's like the only aspect that I need help with, but they can't really help me with that because they would have to like physically restrain me or like hurt me or something.
right. Um, so do they ever do the shopping?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay. And do they buy meat products or animal products for you when they do the grocery shopping?
Yeah, if I ask them to.
Okay.
They don't buy things for me, like they ask me first for like a list.
Right. Okay. Then you give them the shopping list. And you tell
Yeah.
them, you say, hey, can you buy this animal product for me?
Yeah.
Right. Do you think if you told them, hey, next time I ask you to buy me an animal product, can you just say you will and then not buy it and buy me something vegan instead? What do you think they would do if you asked them to do that?
I have no idea. I think they'd probably do it,
Okay. There's a
but then
chance
I
they'd
think what would end
forget,
up happening,
but
yeah. I mean,
okay.
well, they go by the list that I send them, so they don't really like deviate from the list. But I guess I could say like if something is on the list and it's an animal product, just buy like the vegan version of whatever that is.
Right.
And if you don't know what the vegan version is, I can tell you what it is so that you know. And I could tell them that. That's fully possible. But then what would happen is I probably would just buy the non-vegan item myself. I wouldn't like, because I've done this before where I basically try to work against myself. So like something I'll do is I'll buy 2 weeks of vegan groceries. And then it's like, all right, well, for these 2 weeks, I'm not gonna like waste food, so I'm gonna be. I'm basically forcing myself to be vegan for the whole 2 weeks because I'm not gonna buy more food that I don't need for no reason when I have perfectly good vegan food in the fridge already. So I
Hmm.
basically set myself and my future self, who might make a mistake or might not care about veganism or might do something immoral, basically is practically forced to be vegan. Um, but then at some point, I don't know, I'm not consistent with it.
So what ends up happening?
Did you say like what stops happening?
What ends up happening?
Oh, what ends up happening is I'll buy the same groceries, but one or two of the things will be non-vegan. So then I won't be setting myself up for success.
So do you make it through the 2 weeks only eating vegan groceries?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, that's good. Um, so which of your parents does the shopping when they do the grocery shopping?
Um, for the most part, I do the shopping, but sometimes my mom does it.
All right. Do you think you could just send your mother a text right now?
I could send her a text in like 4 hours because it's like late for me.
Right. Okay. You don't have. Right. So, what time is it where you are?
It's like 4 in the morning.
Okay. Right. So, if you texted her, are you worried that she'd wake up?
Yeah.
She wouldn't sleep through a text?
No, she has insomnia.
Okay. Are you saying that she's
Like she wakes
already
up
awake or she's a
like
light sleeper?
I could literally drop. She's a very light sleeper. I could literally drop a pin and she would say like, "Hey, you woke me up again."
Okay. Right. Hmm. All right. Well, that's all right. Okay. Um, dude, are you ever gonna go to sleep?
I went to sleep like early, so I ended up waking up early.
Okay. All right. All right. We can
Yeah.
work around that. All right. Have you got a notes app on your phone or something?
Yeah, I do.
All right. Um, can you just write in the notes app? Obviously, it doesn't have to be what I say word for word, but something like, "Hey, mom, next time you do the grocery shopping and I ask for an animal product, can you just buy the vegan version of that?"
Yeah.
All right. And then once you've written that in your notes app, could you send me a screenshot of it?
Yeah, sure. All right, I wrote it.
All right, great. Just send a
You
screenshot
want
of
me to
that.
send it in the chat?
Yeah, yeah, in the chat would be good.
Okay, there it is. Wait, what the? Did I send it? Is it? Okay, I put it. Oh, upload failed. That's really weird.
Just
Well, I
try
DM'd
again.
it to you. Hopefully
You've
that
DM'd
works.
it to me?
Yeah, it
All
won't let
right.
me upload it in the chat for whatever reason.
Every time I ask for non-vegan products on the grocery list, could you not buy those and instead buy the vegan alternative? If you don't know what the vegan alternative is, I can let you know. Okay. That sounds like a good message. The next thing I'm going to ask you to do is, when do you think you would be able to text your mum?
Um, Probably like 9.
Okay. So in like what, 5 hours?
Yeah.
All right. You'll have access to your phone at that time?
Yep.
All right, great. Can you set an alarm to go off 5 hours from now?
Sure.
Yeah. And then once you've set that alarm, just send a screenshot of it to me. I guess ideally in the chat so people that are listening can see. And if you can, you should name the alarm, send the text to mum or something.
Okay. I'll screenshot it. I'm gonna try to post it in the chat again. It's not working. I think it's because there's no mods in the room anymore, so the chat is disabled.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, DMing it should be fine.
Okay.
Okay, 9 a.m., send text to mum. Okay, so I'm glad we've done that. Um, what I've been able to do is put 2 steps in place that should, at the very least, reduce your animal product consumption. Um, so, yeah, I'm trying to think. Beyond that, I'm not sure there are many like particular steps. Have you got like a repertoire of vegan recipes? I assume so, right? If you were able to, eat only vegan for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
right? All right, so maybe we can. This will be difficult, but we can try and talk about the underlying psychology behind it. When did you first get an interest in veganism,
2016.
and how did that eventuate?
I was watching YouTube videos about ethics and philosophy, and I came across some vegan videos.
Who by?
Um,
Remember?
so I think it was like Cosmic Skeptic or Earthling Ed or someone like that.
Yeah, Cosmic Skeptic. Um, yeah, wow, it's crazy. It's to me, it's funny, right? It's like you see, I've been vegan for a bit over 8 years, and you can see people who like weren't vegan at different points in time about it, and you can see the sort of like change in big influences over time. But Cosmic
Yeah.
Skeptic is a huge one. Um, Obviously, he's unfortunately no longer vegan. Um, I have faith he'll come back to it one day. You know. Okay, and you said you've watched Dominion, massive amount of other vegan YouTube videos. Feel like a dishonest scumbag whenever you talk about it. Hmm. How can it be that I know it's immoral, but I'm not motivated by that to change? Yeah. Look, I'm not a psychologist, so I can't give you all the answers, but it is sort of fascinating to talk about. Um, One thing that I've been thinking a lot about lately is, and you actually almost mentioned this yourself, um, I I tend to encounter people who will say like, "Yeah, I'm a hypocrite," um, and they'll sort of say, "Oh, it's just like how I buy clothes from sweatshops, even though I know it's wrong." I wonder, do you have anything like that going on psychologically? You point,
No, I don't think.
just to be clear, what I'm asking is, do you point to other examples of hypocrisy in your life to justify this case of hypocrisy?
No, because I don't think buying clothes from sweatshops um, is necessarily bad.
Right, okay. Anything else similar?
I mean, yeah, there's other aspects of my life where I am a hypocrite, but I don't use it to justify anything. I just sort of look at it as just like another another bad thing that I do.
Hmm. What are those aspects?
Like not donating to charity.
Hmm. Anything else?
Yeah, not like improving, not like making more money, like studying more, going to college. Like I mean, I already graduated college, but I mean, like I could go back and potentially study more to get a better degree to earn even more money so that I could donate more. So like stuff like that.
Do you think it would be immoral not to do that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Do you think that you use that in some way to excuse yourself not being vegan?
No, not really. I kind of look at all of it as like a package. Like,
Hmm.
you know, um, if you were vegan, that would be you would be more moral. Like you wouldn't be infringing on anyone's rights. You would be closer to increasing well-being in the world, um, or at least not like increasing suffering. Um, and the same way that that would help you be more moral, donating more money and educating yourself more so that you could donate more money. Those things would also make you more moral. Those things would also increase well-being and decrease suffering.
Right, okay. So maybe you don't use one to justify the other, but I'm wondering, do you see a distinction between those two? In the sense that, like, for instance, have you heard of like positive versus negative rights?
Yeah, I have.
Right, okay. So do you think that applies in this situation?
Um,
Because
this is
the
something
reason
that
I'm
I
asking is because you just say like, oh, veganism is like this thing that makes you more moral. Donating to charity is similarly like this thing that makes you more moral, and you don't do either. But to me, they're asymmetrical in a sense. But yeah, go on. What were you gonna say?
yeah, whether or not they're asymmetrical is fuzzy in my mind. I don't have that resolved. Um, whether something is a moral obligation versus um, I don't know I forgot the other word. There's like a moral obligation and then there's like
Like a
another thing
virtue?
that yeah, virtue. Um, yeah. So whether or not one is a obligation or a virtue, I don't have that solved in my mind because intuitively I think about it and I'm like, okay, clearly not raping is an obligation and giving to charity is a virtue. That makes sense. Like that just makes so much sense. But then when I think about it, I'm like, okay, but what about walking past a child drowning in a pond?
Hmm.
Is it a virtue or an obligation to save them? And why, like, what makes it a virtue and what makes it an obligation? And when I think really hard and I analyze all the arguments, I run into a sort of like ethical fog where I actually don't know. Like, I can't quite pinpoint what would make one a virtue and not an obligation. Like, helping somebody, like, helping someone and being a hero versus just not hurting people, like, not being a villain. So, like, don't be a villain, be a hero. I don't know. It gets really confusing because I'm like, it feels like it should be an obligation to help the child because if you don't, the child is going to drown. Much the same way that if I don't donate to charity, those people are still going to either die or be sick. And I could have stopped it and I didn't. So that outcome is still the same. And in the vegan case, it's the same thing. Like the outcome of me not participating in the Holocaust, in the same way, it's going to lead to better outcomes for those people.
By those people, you mean like the animals, just those
Yeah, the animals.
ancient, not ancient agents. Yeah. Okay. Um, so I'm wondering, just trying to think of how to phrase it because I know where to go now. Um, so do you see a distinction between uh, like pushing a child into a lake for them to drown versus not rescuing them when you could?
Yeah. Um, I thought about that a lot.
Like a
And
distinction in obligation. Like maybe you're obligated to do both, right? But are you more
mhm.
obligated to do one?
I mean, yeah, I think, uh, let me think about it for a second. I'm going to be honest, I don't know. Because the reason why I don't know is because I the outcome is that the child is not going to drown, and that's what I care about.
Right, so the outcome is the same in both situations.
Yes.
Right. Do you factor in like, your responsibility or anything like that?
Do I factor in my responsibility? I have a hard time with moral responsibility as a concept.
Okay, well, it might not strictly be necessary. Can I give you my hypothesis?
Yeah.
So, um, this is what I think a lot of people trip up on, right? And I'm just going to be honest and say that uh, I'm dedicating like quite a lot of my time to thinking about this because I think it's um, really important. Um, but I don't have all the answers. I'm not going to be able to give you like a step-by-step guide. However, even if you say you're not like using one to justify the other, I think you're thinking of veganism as if it were donating to a charity. Um, and I don't think that's the case, right? I do draw this distinction between harming versus uh, paying. Sorry, I do draw this distinction between not harming someone versus uh, like preventing something else from harming someone. Whereas it looks like maybe you don't have that distinction dialed in, which could be that could have some explanatory power for your current situation. What do you think about that theory?
Yeah, maybe that's true
So I think if we discuss this
because I
case,
don't
you don't what exactly?
like um saving someone, like not saving someone to me is it's like if I raped them, you know? Like clearly there's a distinction, or intuitively when I think about it, I'm like, okay, this is silly. Obviously, there's a difference between I didn't save this person versus I'm killing and raping this other person. Obviously, you have an obligation to not kill and rape the person, but it would be virtuous or, it'd be moral for you to save the person. But when I think about it, I'm like, okay, but does it matter? Because the outcome is what matters. It doesn't matter like what I did. What matters is that that person was either saved or not saved, raped or not raped, killed or not killed. And the fact that I didn't save them is just as bad as if I rape someone else because the outcome. So don't look at me and don't look at my actions. Just look at the outcomes and look at my role in the determination of those outcomes. So I end up going that I go down that line of thinking.
So if I was going to summarize that, just to make sure I understand, is it the case that you don't see a difference between killing somebody and stopping somebody from being killed because the outcome is the same?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think if you did see a difference there, this might have some effect on your um, veganity?
I think it's possible.
Okay, right. Yeah, that might be homework for me, right? Think about this. Give me a second. Yeah. So you don't donate to charity, right?
No,
If you were going to donate to charity, how much would you donate?
10% of my income.
10%. All right. And
Yeah.
where do you come up with that figure? Seems like a reasonable figure. I'm just wondering.
It just seems like I wouldn't miss it.
Right. And do you feel like so obviously um right, so obviously like it would be possible for you to donate more than that, right?
Yeah.
And let's pretend you're donating you earn $100,000 a year and you're donating 10% of your income, right? So you've got
Mm-hmm.
90,000 left over. Um, do you consider not donating the rest of your income as bad as if you let's say it's Malaria Relief Foundation as do you consider not donating the remaining 90% as bad as if you'd like gone out and killed all those people who are dying of malaria?
Okay, let me think about this. So, okay, I got it. It's not as bad,
Right.
and here's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah. I'm all
The reason
ears.
it's not as bad is if I don't save 90 people, then 90 people die. And if I go out and kill 90 people, then 180 people died because I didn't. It's like I did. It's like I fucking added to the problem instead of taking away from it. So in one
Uh,
scenario, I'm adding to the problem. In the other scenario, I'm simply not taking away from the problem. So I more people die, I think, in one, which is why
so
it's like worse.
let me clarify what I'm asking. Right. So in the hypothetical, I'm
Okay.
giving you the same amount of people die, right? There's
Okay.
two possible scenarios. In the first scenario, you don't donate the money and 90 people die of malaria. In the second scenario, there's 90 healthy people, but you go and inoculate them with malaria and they die. Do you consider one of those scenarios worse than the other?
Okay, let me think. Oh, yes. Uh, those are the same. They're both they're both just as bad. I'm
They're
just as
both.
bad. Yeah.
Hmm, that's interesting, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
That that tends to go. Yeah, I suppose I guess look. I don't know stats. I was gonna say I guess it goes against most people's intuitions, but I don't have stats to back that up. Maybe you're in the.
It's hard for me. It goes against my intuition.
It goes
But
against your
the
intuition. Wait,
reason
wait. Sorry. So
it's not like an easy conclusion that I come to. I have to really think about like I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. I think in my own head, I go into my own head. I visualize the two scenarios. I see 90 people with malaria, and then I see myself. I'm wearing like a business suit, and I'm just crossing my arms and shaking my head, and everyone is looking at me and they're saying, help us." And I have my arms crossed and I'm shaking my head. I have a fucking cigar and a big bag of money, and I have like a walking stick and a monocle, and I'm like, "Nope," and I'm shaking my head at them. And then in the other scenario, I'm injecting them with a syringe, and they're saying, "No, what are you doing? Stop!" And I'm like, I think I'm as much of an asshole in both of these cases because I'm like, who cares about like or not who cares, but like, do I care about the difference of my actions here? Like in both scenarios, the outcome is that these people are going to die from malaria. Is
well,
it really that different that in one scenario it's me doing it versus me not doing something? Is the inaction versus the action distinction really like, does that really matter to me? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Let me think about it. And I come to the conclusion, I'm like, I don't know. I'm sort of leaning towards like it doesn't.
you probably don't need to imagine yourself with like a monocle and a cane. Because I think
But
that might be
that's just extra fluff because
alluding.
I'm thinking of myself as selfish. That's a characterization of myself in that scenario.
Right. But I want to hone in on you said it goes against your intuitions um to say that they're equally as bad. Um so when you say intuitions, what do you mean? Do you just mean like your like first thought or something else?
Yeah, what I mean when I say that is that I actually have two intuitions and they're fighting each other in my head. One of my intuitions is there is a clear difference. In one of them, you're injecting people, so that's you're taking an action. It's like you're attacking someone. So it's like, you know, you're the one doing it. Um, if you just cross your arms and didn't help those people, sure, you could have helped them, but it wasn't you. They already had malaria. You didn't give those people malaria. But then my other intuition is like, who gives a fuck whether or not you gave them malaria? You didn't save those people, and the outcome is the exact same. They're going to die from malaria, and it's your fault. Either it's your fault for giving it to them or not helping. In both instances, it's your fault. And these two intuitions are fighting in my head against each other.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I think we're really making progress here. Okay. So, right. So obviously it is the case that the outcome measured in like number of people who have been, who will die of malaria is the same in both situations, right?
Yeah.
But that's like logically compatible with it being worse to uh, to breach these negative rights that these people have, right? Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask, have you got some kind of like normative ethic that you are coming from?
Yeah. Utilitarianism.
Right, okay, it sounds very utilitarianism. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think where to go because I could challenge utilitarianism and I wonder if that would help, right? Because I sort of see what you're saying now, right? Because if I was a utilitarian, all I care about is the outcome. It doesn't matter what I do. That doesn't mean shit because under utilitarianism, it's like, boom, there's an increase in or a decrease in suffering, right? That's what we want.
Hmm.
Right. Okay. All right. This is interesting. I'm just trying to think if there are any other routes we can take because discussing normative ethics is I'll tell you where I'm at, man. It's like when I'm discussing veganism with someone and they're like, "Oh, but God said we can eat animals." And then I'm thinking, "Oh, fuck. Do I have to turn this into a religion debate or is there some way to go around it, you know?" Ah,
Yeah.
that's what it feels like. And ideally I'd rather go around it. Um, but I'm struggling to think if there's a different way to do it. Um, All right, well, yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit about utilitarianism, right? Um, where do you learn utilitarianism from? You mentioned the drowning scenario, so I take it you're the drowning child scenario. So I take it you're somewhat familiar with Peter Singer.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, he's a fellow Australian. Um, he's sort of frequently doing events around here. Um, right. So I take it you're familiar with like the trolley problem, right?
Yeah.
So one person on one set of tracks five people on the other set of tracks. Train's coming towards five people. You can pull a lever to save one person. Um, and do you do it?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Are you familiar with any of the counterexamples?
Counterexamples?
Yeah, so they typically be called utilitarian counterexamples. So I'll give you my favorite. Um, you're a doctor in a hospital, right?
Mm-hmm.
And um, there's five patients in that hospital. One needs a kidney, maybe the other needs a kidney, the other needs, a brain, a heart, lungs. It doesn't matter, right? There's five people that are going to die unless they get an organ transplant, right?
Yeah.
And you go into the break room and you see one of the nursing staff is, you know, or just a receptionist has fallen asleep. You think, I could kill this person, I could take their organs, and I could save five people. So similarly, you can kill one person to save five, and it would increase utility to the same degree as it would in the trolley problem. Do you kill that person and use their organs to save the five people awaiting transplant?
Yeah, I do.
You do. Okay.
Assuming nobody finds out about it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, nobody's gonna know. You would
Yeah.
murder somebody and use their organs to save five people.
Well, it wouldn't be murder, in my opinion.
Oh, what would it be?
It would be a killing.
Yeah. Well, what's the distinction in that case for you?
Murder would be killing someone without a proper moral justification.
Right, but in this case you have a proper justification.
Yeah.
So it's not murder to kill this innocent person because you're going to use their organs to save five people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know your thoughts, so please don't take this as me saying I do. This is just a genuine question. I'm wondering, are you coming to that conclusion because you think it must be true, or because that's what you genuinely feel is the right thing?
Um, it's a lot like the other intuition, where I actually have two intuitions. On one of them, I'm like, hey, killing this person is clearly wrong. They're innocent. They didn't do anything wrong. And I don't know, it just, even though I would be saving five people, it just feels really wrong to kill this innocent person,
Hmm.
uh, for to save the five people. But then my other intuition is like, okay, but you're maximizing well-being. Why do you care so much about killing the one person? What are you doing any of this for? What is the ethical theory, like, what are you trying to do? Like, are you trying to maximize well-being or are you not? What actually matters to you? Is it following some rule about not killing innocents, or is it about saving as many people as you can? And that other intuition is fighting with the other intuition, and they're just having a battle. And I think one of them is slightly winning, and the one that's slightly winning is the one that talks about maximizing well-being.
Right. Okay. So, you phrased that as two intuitions. However, the first one sounded a lot more like an intuition, whereas the second one didn't. So I'm a little confused there, right? Because you said you have one intuition that says it feels really wrong to kill this innocent person, right? And then
Yeah.
you phrased it as an intuition, but then you said it maximizes well-being, right? So
Hmm.
obviously, like the fact that it maximizes well-being isn't an intuition. So are you, without the rationalization, like obviously you're cognizant of the fact that it will maximize well-being, but without being like, oh, like it maximizes well-being, what maximizes well-being must be right. Are you are you genuinely feeling in that situation? If you were in that situation, would you feel like the right thing to do is to kill that person?
Yeah. Here's the thing about all of these situations. Whenever I give you my first intuition, the one that says, hey, it's not you giving those people malaria. Like you're not, it's not like that one more accurately reflects what I would do. The one that says, hey, you're a doctor, you're killing an innocent person, just because you're going to save five people, that doesn't make it okay to kill this innocent person. This first intuition that I have before the utilitarian, idea gets into my head, that feels like what I would do. It
Yeah.
feels like I would just, you know, if I don't want to donate the money, I don't donate the money. And would I feel better had I donated? Sure, I would have. But I know that I'm not doing anything wrong by not donating because it's not me giving them malaria. And in this situation, it just feels better to not kill the innocent man. And sure, I'm gonna feel bad about the five people dying, but it wasn't me killing the five people, so I shouldn't feel bad about it. Like, I don't think I would do that. But then, as soon as I feel that, the utilitarian idea pops into my head. I don't know if I want to call it an intuition,
Mhm.
but it just feels like this sort of force, like this emotional force in my head. And it's thinking, it's like,
Well, I take it it's you obviously know something about philosophy, which is helpful. But I take it you've probably heard of utilitarianism and you've thought this sounds correct. And then if you come across a moral situation, um, you're thinking, oh, well, I should apply like the correct normative ethic to it, right?
yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay, but here's the twist. What if utilitarianism is not correct? Let's just,
I think,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, that's possible. It might not be correct.
Okay. So we got to go a layer deeper and discuss meta-ethics, right? So normative ethics is, oh, are you a virtue ethicist? Are you a deontologist? Are you a utilitarian? Something else? Blah blah blah, right? Meta-ethics is like what are ethics, right? Um, do you have an answer to that?
Nope. I'm
Okay,
completely uh, lost or agnostic when it comes to metaethics.
right. Um, well, what I would say we're talking about when we're discussing ethics are essentially our intuitions, right? Like you know what it feels like for something to be right or wrong, right?
Hmm.
And if we're using utilitarianism, right? Um, I think trying not to shit talk utilitarianism too much. Okay, so I used to call myself utilitarian, by the way. Oh God, that sounds pretentious when I phrase it that way. Oh, I guess I used to be. Yeah, pretend I didn't say something as pretentious as that, please. Um, but I really love this subject. I'm so glad we came here. Um, and you start thinking about like, oh, why is it wrong to like do X, right? And you just start thinking like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I guess like it causes pain. And you just think, yeah, well, why is it wrong to do Y? Oh, yeah, it causes pain or reduces well-being. Okay, well, why is it right to do Z? Oh, well, it increases well-being, right? And so you can insert your own examples, right? And I take it that's how I used to think, right? Um, and how still how I like often think, right? Are you familiar with um, that sort of line of thinking?
Yeah.
And so all we have to do is go one layer deeper, and say, um, why? Let me get the phrasing right. Why does it matter that it increases well-being, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would you have as an answer?
What would I have as an answer? Increases well-being.
This
Why
can
does it
just be something
matter?
very simple like, why should I eat this, this delicious vegan cake or something, right?
Right, right, right.
And then you
Okay,
think, well,
so
because it'll increase my well-being, and then you think, why does it matter that it increases my well-being?
right. Why does it matter that it increases my well-being? Um, well, matters. What does it mean for something to matter?
Like, what is the significance of it increasing your well-being such that that turns the tide on your action?
I mean, it just feels positive, feels good.
Right, yeah. So what I would phrase that as is you have a preference towards increasing your well-being,
Right?
right? Did you agree with that?
Yeah,
So there's
I would
nothing,
agree. Yeah.
so there's nothing magical about increasing well-being such that it determines something is right. What actually matters, um, in determining whether something is right is whether you have a preference towards it. And one of the things you have a preference towards is well-being. Do you see what I'm saying there? Do you understand the distinction?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, and I wonder, do you agree with that? Because not everyone agrees. Some people are moral objectivists and they're like, oh, God says this or the universe says this.
Um, no, I agree with that. That's why I think it comes from my preference.
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask, how much of this is new to you?
How much of
Like,
this is
like,
new?
is this all stuff you've thought about before, or are these questions you haven't really asked yourself?
I mean, I kind of took a break from meta-ethics.
Hmm.
I used to think about it a lot more, but this isn't new. I've thought about this all before. It's just been a while.
Okay, okay, that's fine. Um, right. So let's go back to the organ theft example, right? And
Hmm.
you described to me that you have an intuition that that is wrong, right? You have, well, I would phrase that as a preference against it, right?
Yes.
But simultaneously, you're cognizant of the fact that it will increase well-being.
Yeah, and there's a
So,
level of guilt that comes with that, by the way.
do you want to just briefly explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, like if I was actually in the situation and I let the 5 people die, I would feel guilty. Even like knowing, like, hey, you didn't kill an innocent man, like you're okay, like you did the right thing. A part of me would feel like, no, I didn't do the right thing. That's
Oh,
5
it's
whole
it's a
people with
tricky
5 whole
situation. It's an
families.
awful situation to be in. It's fine. You'd probably feel shit no matter what you did, right?
Precisely, but it's
Yeah.
about in what outcome do I feel more shit?
Hmm. Okay. So
And it eludes me. It's fuzzy.
I don't want to get too sidetracked because you might think where is this guy going, but I really think we're on a roll here. Um,
Okay.
all right. So we've discussed. I just reorient myself. So we've discussed you have this preference against killing this innocent person, right?
Right.
And but simultaneously you're cognizant of the fact that it would increase well-being. Yet what did we just determine? We determined that there's nothing magical about well-being. What actually matters are our preferences.
That's insane.
Did we not just determine that?
We did, but I have a hard time emotionally thinking about that.
Wait, sorry. When you say that's insane, are you saying that's wrong, or are you saying, "Whoa, dude, that's wild"?
Yeah, the second one.
Okay, right. I thought okay, yeah, that's much more understandable, right? That's sort of mind bending, right?
Yeah, because it just doesn't feel right. I don't know, something about it. It feels cold.
Well, what you can do is you can have a different normative ethic in place, right? Um, so, like, I feel weird about pitching normative ethics because it's like, hey, bro, just think the way I think, right? But look, some people are just like stone cold utilitarians; they will not budge, right? Um, uh, you're obviously familiar with Ask Yourself a little bit, right?
Hmm.
So, do you know what his normative ethic is?
Threshold deontology.
Yeah, threshold deontology, right? Um, so what that means is that he would not kill this one person to save their organs. Um, but if it was killing one person to save like, 100 trillion people, or probably less, but that was the first number that came to my head, he would do it. Right. Um, yeah, despite it increasing well-being, despite the increase in well-being, right? Because, and I would say like, when the way you've described your intuitions, they don't sound utilitarian. It sounds like you obviously, sorry, can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, finally, we're back. Dude, man, no, I got cut out at the worst possible time. That was awful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whoever's running the simulation that we're in,
Oh
they got a kick
man,
out of that.
yeah. Probably because I haven't paid my membership fees. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fuck, bro. Where were we even at? Okay, so you have you have this right. So so ask yourself. I'm just using him as an example. He is a threshold deontologist, right? So we discussed what that is. Right. Okay. And I would say that well, the way you've described your intuitions, they don't sound utilitarian because there are situations which would increase well-being that you intuitively you find wrong, right?
Well, yes, but I think we should also not ignore that I do have a utilitarian intuition as well. I
So
have two
yeah,
intuitions.
yes. So you can have a preference for well-being, and that can be totally fine and compatible. But what I'm saying is it's clearly not your only preference. Otherwise you would be
That is
like
true, yeah.
otherwise you'd be like, oh yeah, obviously, yeah, it feels completely fine to like murder this innocent person, right? This seems
Yeah,
obvious. Because if that was
it's
your
not
only,
obvious.
yeah. So you clearly have preferences other than well-being, right?
Yeah.
And when I realized that about myself, that was when I realized, well, fuck, I guess I'm not a utilitarian. But I think where people get stuck is they know a little bit about utilitarianism, um, and they just think, oh, it must be right, right? It's like, oh, there's like this calculus for determining whether something's right or wrong. What do my feelings have to do with it? But our feelings are the whole reason why we would even abide by that calculus. So if our
So what are we just fucking describing our feelings? Is that what we're doing?
yeah, that's what I think normative ethics are. I think normative ethics is essentially you're trying to find uh, uh, basically a consistent way of describing um, what you find right and wrong. And in my case, that's best described by threshold deontology. So, yeah.
That's really scary to me
What about that is scary to you?
because what if I have, okay, if I abandon utilitarianism
Mhm.
and I start talking about my preferences, what if I have a preference to rape people?
Well, you might, but it might be outweighed by, or almost certainly would be outweighed by other preferences. You probably have a
That is
preference.
true.
You probably have a preference to be, logically consistent. You probably have a preference to not hurt others, which you've just demonstrated by, not wanting to kill this innocent person. That's just two examples.
Hmm.
So you can have multiple preferences, but something's going to come out on top. Like
I
just
know, but here's the thing though. What if
to give
there
one
was a
example,
situation?
let's
Yeah.
say I like I've got a preference to like lose 5 kilos, but I've also got like a preference to like to eat this chocolate, you know? One of those is gonna come out on top. Sounded like you were gonna say something
Yeah.
before.
Oh, I'm just worried. Like, what if I'm in a situation where my preference to rape, like, outweighs my preference to be consistent or care about others, or
Um,
it's like scary. Like, that could flip my entire, like, my normative system. It's like I don't have utilitarianism to lean on anymore. So now it feels like I can go anywhere. Like, I'm off the rails.
well, you can still have a normative system. Like I would pitch the threshold deontology to you, which takes into account um, uh, both utilitarian and non-utilitarian preferences.
But that not even, I don't even know if, does that actually, see, oh man. This is the problem. I think this is why I didn't do this. Like, this is why I'm so married to utilitarianism, is because if I go down this route and I start picking and choosing normative ethics like I'm fucking shopping,
Mhm.
what is preventing me from having some horrific, like, if I'm just gonna go against my ethic anyways, what's the point?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean go against your ethic.
I mean, yeah, I can't go against my preferences, but see, this is the problem. Now I can just, like, what is, like, there's gonna be a situation where I can rape someone, and sure, I have reasons to not rape them, but my reasons to rape them is just gonna outweigh my reasons to not rape them. And you can say, like, oh, but what about your normative ethic? Like,
Sorry,
this is a
are you
right,
saying
but
there's like a conceivable reason, or like that's actually going to happen in your life?
it's actually gonna happen in my life where I'm gonna be in a situation where I can rape someone and I can just say, like, okay, surely the utility does not outweigh the rights violation here. Like, the rights violation is bad, and it's so bad that whatever utility you think you're going to get out of this, it's not going to be enough. And I'm just going to say, no, it is. It is enough. Let's do it. And then I'm going to do it. That's what I'm scared of. That's why it's so scary. That's like my nightmare scenario that I'm like shaking in my boots trying to avoid, and something mental is happening.
But why would that not be the case for utilitarianism? If you can defy a threshold deontic, if you can defy threshold deontology as your normative ethic and be like, oh, well, it outweighs the right, why would it not be the case for utilitarianism? You can just sort of be like, oh, well, I've got preferences other than well-being, so
Well, true. That's true. Let me think about that. Um,
and let me ask you, would you actually think it's right in that situation?
no, I'm always gonna feel bad raping someone. The problem is that I'm gonna justify it. I'm gonna say, like, you know, in this scenario, nobody knows that I'm raping them, and like there's a high likelihood that I'm gonna get away with it. Um, I'm gonna get enjoyment out of it. Like, I can make all these rationalizations in my head, even though no one knows about it. I'm gonna feel guilty because I know about it, and it just feels wrong. Literally, there's not even a utility. If anything, I'm maximizing utility because I am getting enjoyment out of it. But for some strange reason, I just feel bad about it. Like,
Yeah,
literally, just the action itself.
prob probably because you're not a total fucking psychopath. Um, okay, I think it would help to talk a little bit about what rights are and to talk a little bit about where this threshold is in threshold deontology, right? Um, and let me just clarify, even though I used ask yourself as an example before, I just used him as an example of a threshold deontologist. I'm not speaking for him here, I'm speaking for myself. Okay. Um, so this is something that pulled me away from threshold deontology for a long time, and I think something that pulls a lot of people away. But the first thing you need to understand is that there is nothing spooky about um, there's nothing spooky about rights. Okay, do you know what I mean by that?
There's nothing spooky about rights. Yeah, I know what you mean by that.
Cool. Okay, because some people think like, oh, you know, But what are these rights? Are they real? Where do they exist in the universe? That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about by rights are anything that is going to matter in terms of whether we determine something as right or wrong that does not cash out in utility. Does that all make sense to you?
Yep.
Right. So when we talk about this organ donor counterexample, and we say that's wrong, we say, oh, but it's maximized utility. Okay, but we still find it wrong, and the reason we find it wrong is because that man has a right to life. Are you understanding that?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. At a certain point, that right is going to be outweighed by utility, right? And so then the
Mm-hmm.
next question is, oh, but how do I determine when the right has been outweighed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a question you're wondering? Or do you think you have the answer?
I mean, I have, really obvious answers like, hey, kill this one person to save 5 people. And I'm like, no, like, I'm sorry for those 5 people, but I'm not gonna kill a guy to save 5 people. Okay, kill this one person to save 1 million people. Okay, I
Right,
think
okay.
I would feel worse not doing this at this point.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay, that's really good because a lot of people you, let me just say, you seem to be like ahead of most people, right? Most people have a lot of trouble understanding this, so I'm really pleased with how you're going. I will just clarify, like a lot of people will get stuck thinking like, oh, but like, I don't know where this threshold would be, right? But what did we just talk about? We talked about what makes something right or wrong, and we concluded that it was our preference towards it. So it's very simple. The threshold at which a rights violation is justified is the point at which the utility is so high that our intuition flips, right? So I'm probably in the same boat as you. Would I kill this one person to save 5 people? No. But out of 1 million people, yeah, my intuition's telling me it's the right thing to do. So that's where the threshold is, because the utility is at such a high degree that it's outweighed that rights violation.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you thinking now about utilitarianism? Do you think utilitarianism accurately describes your normative ethics?
Um,
It's fine if you don't want to jump on the threshold deontology bandwagon right away, but just without thinking of alternatives, what do you think about utilitarianism as we've talked about it?
I
Someone's
mean,
on my cat.
So I'm just gonna have to ask the other person not to talk because I can't hear the person I'm speaking to.
Mm.
All right. So do you think utilitarianism accurately describes your normative ethics?
do I think it accurately describes my normative ethics? No.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So that's a big jump, right?
I mean, I still feel guilty though. I mean, like, I don't think I'm gonna be frank. It's like I would need a really complex normative ethic to actually describe my preferences because my preferences are fucking wacky. Like, I have a lot of preferences fighting each other. I have
Yeah.
like
Of
a
course.
preference hierarchy.
And look, you can obviously like hash that out over time, but you were
Yeah,
previously coming from a utilitarian framework, and now we've concluded that things matter to you other than utility, right?
yeah.
So when we go,
I don't. So I'm comfortable saying utilitarianism doesn't quite map on to my preferences. I'm comfortable saying that. I'm not comfortable jumping to threshold deontology because that might not accurately describe it either.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I think you should. I'm happy to talk to you about threshold deontology at a different point, but like it would be like it's not going to help me any further in this conversation, right? All I wanted to do is get you off utilitarianism. It's absolutely not the case that you have to be like a threshold deontologist to, to to not donate to charity or something, or I do donate to charity, but you definitely don't have to be a threshold deontologist to go where I would like to take you. Is that cool?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. All right. So let's go way back to when we were talking about um, uh, drowning children. Right. So
You were talking about drowning children?
there's context, I promise. Um, and so I'm trying to remember the exact situation I gave you in which, oh no, so not drowning children, giving people malaria, right? So
Yeah.
um, I asked you, do you see it as equally wrong, these two scenarios? The first scenario is you don't donate money to charity, and as a result, these um, certain amount of people die of malaria. The second scenario is that I think it was 90 people in both scenarios. There's 90,
Mm-hmm.
the same 90 people are healthy in the second scenario, but you inject them with malaria, right? And what you
Yep.
told me when we discussed this was that your intuitions tell you that the first scenario is not as bad as the second scenario, but that you have another intuition which wasn't really an intuition from the sounds of it, just that you were torn because you knew that it increased well-being, right?
Yeah,
Is that
I'm torn.
right? But that's why I
I
took
think it
you to
was,
where we just were, where we've concluded that um, there are more things that matter to you than just well-being.
yeah, I guess I was trying to describe the fact that they're definitely both wrong. It's just that one is worse.
Okay, yeah, that's completely fine. That's completely compatible. But you, so now, so before you were pretty insistent that they were equally as bad. Um, whereas now, do you see that there's no problem with accepting that the first one is worse? Sorry, not that the
Yeah,
first one is worse, that the second one is worse. The one where you
the
inject.
second one, the one where I inject people, yeah, and not only, I mean, if I'm being honest, like I would treat, if I'm thinking like, how would you treat someone? I mean, that's like really weird. Like somebody, like I'm the person who doesn't donate, so I am literally in this situation. I mean, I'm not rich, but there is some amount of people I could save from malaria if I don't start donating.
Yeah,
Um,
it costs very
so
little, and I would recommend that you do, but I don't want to get
in a
sidetracked.
way, I am one of those people, but I wouldn't, if I actually met some version of myself that injected all those people with malaria, I would treat them very differently. Like I'd be scared to be around them.
Hmm.
And I'm not like I wouldn't be scared to be around like another version of myself because it's like, okay, you didn't donate to charity, you're no hero, but you're certainly not. I'm not scared to be around you. So I don't know. There's definitely a difference. Um, I mean, the outcome obviously is still the same. Those people are still going to die, and that's where the guilt comes from.
Yeah, well, they,
And that's why I'm still saying that they're both bad, and that's why I'm still torn.
right.
But
So
yeah,
they
definitely one is
can
worse.
they can both be bad, whereas before you were pretty insistent that they were equally as bad, whereas now I can see the change, and as you just said then, definitely the second scenario is much worse.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That is a lot. Man, I'm loving your intellectual honesty because most people that I talk to about this are like it's like cringy how insistent they are just because people are so reluctant to change their beliefs. All right. Oh,
Okay, well, be careful because you're gonna hate me later.
uh, well, I don't know about that, but let's okay. I'm trying to think of how far we can go. Okay, okay. I'm not going to. I'm not going to say that this conversation is going to. Yeah, I'm not going to lead you to. Yeah, yeah, okay. I know what I could say, but I'm not going to say it. So, all right. The whole reason this came up in the first place is because uh, we discussed positive and negative rights, right? So
Hmm.
initially, previously, you said you hadn't seen a distinction, and we used that example that I just gave you of the two scenarios, and you said there was no distinction. Whereas now you say one is um, one distinction is a lot. Yeah, well, now you say one scenario is a lot worse than the other, right?
Yeah.
So, do you see a distinction now between positive and negative rights, right? Whereas in scenario, if you'd like an example, it's just the one we were just using, right? So scenario one is you're uh, you're not um, you're not sort of you're not really seeing a positive right there. You're not donating to charity, or you're not following one at least. Whereas in scenario two, you're violating their negative right. You're um, injecting them with malaria.
Yep.
Okay, so you've gone from not seeing a distinction between positive and negative rights to now seeing a distinction. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, so despite you not saying that you use your failure to donate to charity as a reason to not be vegan, um, I did notice previously that your lines of thinking between the two were essentially identical, right? With the charity case, it's like, it would be good to do, but you know, I don't do it, right? Like
Yeah.
the way that's described is you've described that in terms of positive rights. Like this is an action I could take that would be good, but I'm not gonna, right? This,
Right.
this is all I would like from you is that I would say, and I think that's correct. The way you've described charity in that case is yes, pretty much correct. You know, making the changes that we've made along the way. But now you can see a distinction between positive and negative rights. So I think what I would like is for you to look at the case of eating animals and say, that's not like a positive right that I'm not doing. That's me violating their negative rights.
Yes. I mean, I
So,
guess to
so this is akin to the
explain,
second scenario.
yeah,
And
it'd be like,
in that sense, paying for animals to be, brutally killed is much worse than not donating to charity, even if, um, I'm not saying this is the case, but even if the outcomes and well-being of you failing to be vegan and failing to donate to charity are identical.
hmm
Is that a yes?
yeah, it's like being vegan is me not violating the rights of animals. Whereas I guess like that's like an obligation because you're obligated to not violate rights. But doing vegan activism is like it's like a positive right or it's like a virtue, something that you don't have to do, but if you do it, it's really good that you did it. It's like a positive right, like
Yeah, I'd probably
somebody,
agree with that.
yeah, somebody doing activism on my behalf. That's like a positive right. A negative right is like somebody, don't attack me
Yeah, so
or
I'm
pay for me to
wondering,
be
would you
attacked.
be able to spell out, like, I think that's a good example you just gave, um, one I haven't thought of before. But I'm wondering, can you spell out this difference between donating to charity versus not being, sorry, can you spell out this difference between not donating to charity versus not being vegan?
Not donating to charity is I'm not participating in a positive right that somebody else has, the right to be given money to be helped in their situation. Um, I'm not violating a negative right that they have because I'm not attacking them. Um, if I'm not being vegan, though, I am violating a negative right that someone else has because I'm paying for them to be attacked. Um, and I'm not really doing anything in terms of positive rights. Like if I was doing vegan activism, I guess that would be like I'm violating negative rights and participating in positive rights, so that'd be kind of funny, but
So, yeah, what I'd like to say then is, do you think it's an accurate recollection of events that roughly about an hour ago, when we discussed this exact same thing, um, you were a utilitarian and you didn't see this distinction between donating to charity versus veganism, whereas and the reason I say that is because your lines of reasoning were identical, and you multiple times brought up your failure to donate to charity when you were talking about not being vegan, whereas now you do see a clear distinction between the two.
yeah.
Great. That's fucking fantastic, man. So, what I'm not going to say is now, you'll instantly wake up tomorrow and you'll be vegan, right? You're
Hell no.
probably I'm gonna push you as hard as I can, right? But you're probably still gonna have to think about this, right? Um, but now you see that your rationalizations, I suppose I would call them, for when you purchase animal products, cannot be written off the same way um, as failing to donate to charity, right? And this is
Yeah.
something that I see all the time, right? I'm really glad you reached out because it's, I think, like, honestly, man, I think this is the key, right? People, we've talked about people give these verbal concessions, but then they don't change their actions, right? And part of me is starting to think it's because they put veganism in the same camp as like sweatshops. Obviously, you're already clued in about sweatshops. Sounds like we've got the same position there. But charity is the other very big one. Like I've chatted to mates in real life, and they've been like, "Oh yeah, going vegan would be good," but like, so we're donating to charity, and I don't donate to charity. But
Yeah.
now you can see the difference between those two, correct?
Right.
Right. So I think that is going to be an extremely useful tool in your vegan journey. Um, I want to let the dust settle and see if this actually does affect your behaviors in the long run. Obviously, we've also put in uh, two further measures to prevent you from uh, reducing animal products. But I think I think we're basically coming to the end of this discussion. So I'm pretty much happy to uh, open the floor back to you. And if you don't mind, let me just ask, do you think this um, has or will affect your motivation in terms of animal product consumption? Don't feel like you have to say
Um,
yes. Just be honest.
I'm gonna be honest and say I don't know, and I have a slight leaning towards it probably won't.
Mama.
Right. But would you say it has affected the way that you talk to yourself or the way that you view animal product consumption? I mean, you
Um,
have a more robust um, opposition to it.
I mean, a little bit.
Yeah, like you are capable uh, you are capable of providing a stronger argument against it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got something new out of this conversation, I'm hoping, right?
Yeah.
I I'm pretty happy with where we've ended up, honestly. Um, because I think we've really promoted this distinction between not donating to charity and not being vegan, which a lot of people fall into. And so I hope you really think about that and you see, because you've previously made comparisons between the two, not necessarily to justify the other, but you multiple times made comparisons of like, oh, yeah, I don't donate to charity either. Um, but you can't put veganism in amongst like some box of positive rights that you're not um, abiding by. It's like a negative right that you're actively violating every single time you purchase an animal product. And that is significant. And I believe that has motivating force?
Yeah, hurting someone versus helping someone, killing someone versus saving someone, or killing someone versus not saving someone. Those are different things.
Okay, well, I'm pretty much happy to leave it there. Were there like any further questions you had or anything?
Um, Let me think. Oh yeah, my friends,
Hmm.
when I run name the trade on them, they say that the shell matters,
What do you mean
and it
by
really
the
bugs me.
shell?
The shell meaning like I talk to them, I say, "Hey, is it intelligence? Like you told me that the animals are stupid or, cognitively low or whatever. But what about the humans that are cognitively low or intellectually impaired or whatever?" And they say, "Yeah, but like they look human, they sound human, they appear human to me. It might not be the base pairs that I'm concerned with, but it's just the fact that they look like me. They look like similar to me in these different ways." And then I
Right.
start saying, okay, well, what about like a human with a cow tail and cow ears and a cow nose? And if I start saying these things, they start telling me like, okay, I think this anthropomorphic human cow mutation that you have created, I'm not comfortable farming it because it still looks far too human. And when I start saying like, okay, well, now it walks on all fours and it's starting to get a little bit bulkier and, you know, it makes like mooing noises. There's a gray zone in the middle where they look at me and they say, I am genuinely unsure as to whether or not I am okay farming this thing. Like, I really don't know how to feel anymore. But then, as I get closer to the cow, they tell me, okay, I think we're getting back in the realm of things that I'm comfortable farming. And I'm like, okay, but why? Like, why does what they look like matter to you? Is that really it? And they're like, yes, that is really it. And I'm like, well, don't you, so you really don't care about like the fact that they're suffering and it hurts? Like, you didn't like it when you got hurt that one time. Why are you like turning a blind eye? And they're like, I'm turning a blind eye because they look different. It's the way that they look. I'm just able to ignore their suffering when they look differently. I really don't know what it is. And I'm like, okay, man, that just sounds, I have a hard time believing that, to be frank.
Yeah, so what I think would be helpful is if you used a specific example. So, like, would you eat your mum if your mum was in a cow's body?
I mean, I said that. They just said, okay, but my mom is intelligent. So, for example, if I had like a whiteboard and I was drawing on the whiteboard and I put like a red circle and I said, hey, there's a red circle and a blue circle. Can you please touch the red circle if you remember like breastfeeding me? And then the cow touches the red circle and they're like, see, that's why.
Okay, right. So it's not just well, we could right. So the trait isn't just looking like a cow. The trait is, or rather, not looking like a human. The trait is intelligence and um, like looking like a non-human or
That's
looking
exactly the
like a
case.
cow.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
yeah,
exactly what they tell me,
you can
and I'm
still
fucking sick of it.
use still use a specific example, right? Um, uh, this can be a little cruel, but like ask yourself as shown like videos of intellectually impaired people. Um, so I
Oh,
would,
you're gonna bring up Brie?
yeah, yeah, that's who I was thinking of. I don't have the video or
Yeah,
anything. But
but yeah, believe me, brother, I fucking showed them the video of Brie, and they said, "Yeah, I'm not comfortable farming, but guess what? If Brie starts to look a little bit too much like a cow, it might start to become more and more okay to farm Brie."
yeah, so what I would ask is like if I put Bree's exact like conscious experience, conscious experience, inside of a cow, would it be okay to, do everything we do to cows, to that being? Um, and I think most people would say no. Um,
They
what do
don't.
you,
They say
you,
yes.
yeah, your friends would say
They say,
yes?
you know what they like to say? They say, "Oh, you put Brie's consciousness inside of a cow." Um, I mean, that just is what a cow is. Like you've made a cow essentially. I'm okay with doing that to cows. Um, in fact, if anything, the cow is less intelligent than the average cow, and I'm okay with farming this cow with the mentally disabled person's mind inside of it. Totally okay with farming it because that just is what a cow is. It's just a I look at all cows, all I see are mentally disabled people that happen to look like cows, and I'm just okay with farming those people. Does that sound cold to you? Does that hurt your feelings? Well, that's just my position, so fucking suck it. And I'm like, all right, fuck you.
Yeah, well, it's shitty, but obviously some people are going to bite the bullet on name the trait.
I don't believe them, honestly. This sounds like motivated bullshit to me. I'm like, there's
Oh
no
yeah,
way. You just need
People
to,
say
they
the
just probably have
craziest
trouble
shit.
visualizing it.
Like people will people will say like, oh yeah, it's fine to like you know kill like galaxies of like people that look and act exactly like humans, um, but just are not technically humans by genetics. And obviously they don't really believe that, but that's what people will do. Um, and look, I can't like I can't tell you what to say to convince your friends, but if they're just going to bite the bullet on name the trait, I've tried. I don't know. If I was going to give advice on that, it would be to try other methods. Like maybe they could, you could say, oh, okay, well, what if it wasn't a cow? What if it was like a dog or whatnot? Um, but like honestly, like
I have asked them that before. They usually say something like, okay, well, if you put brie in the body of a dog, all of a sudden, because it looks the way that a dog looks, I'm suddenly not okay with farming it.
mm,
They just go back to the shell morality again.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say other than some people have like crazy positions, obviously. And I sometimes, not that regularly, but sometimes do street outreach. And eventually you just got to figure out like who's worth spending time on. Because like I mean, a lot of these people are not serious, right? But there are like genuine, sociopaths, psychopaths that exist out there. And, you know, you, it's obviously pointless trying to convince them. So I think this is similar in the sense that like, you got to know who to like spend time on, and if people are just not biting, then what can you do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm really happy with the I suppose philosophical progress that you made today, and I'm glad that you can now see a distinction between purchasing animal products and um, other acts like donating to charity. Um, and I'm also very happy about the two things we put in place to reduce your animal product consumption, changing your bookmark and sending that message to your mother. And I really hope that motivates you to actually become vegan. And if there's anything further I can do to help that in the future, or any questions that pop up, just shoot me another message.
That's a question.
Okay, I'll let you know.
All right, was there anything else you wanted to conclude with?
Nope.
All right,
I got
nice
a
talking.
question if I could.
Sorry, you've got a question?
Yeah.
It's very hard to hear you. Is there any way you could improve your mic?
Hold on. I'm on my earphones. One second. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I have a question.
Sure.
What message did he have to send his mother?
You can tell them if you like.
Yeah, the message I'm sending her is basically don't buy any non-vegan stuff from me anymore. Only buy me vegan stuff.
You're a teenager?
No, I'm an adult, but sometimes she shops for me.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, it was very good talking to you, and hopefully I hear from you again. Goodbye.
All right.